Bella and Antonio met at a mutual acquaintance's birthday party. The restaurant was full of guests, and then he walked in, a handsome, tall, and impressive guy, immediately catching the attention of the women. Throughout the evening, the two talked, laughed, and danced. It seemed like they had known each other their whole lives. Since then, they were inseparable. Soon, their meetings evolved into true love. Just a month after they first met, Antonio proposed to Bella and she agreed. There wasn't much pre-wedding romance, no flower bouquets on dates, no gifts, but Bella didn't attach much importance to that. The main thing was that they were happy together. They loved each other. The lovebirds got married, 2 years passed, and everything seemed fine, except for one thing that saddened the young wife. She couldn't get pregnant. However, the spouses didn't dwell on it. To everything, there's a time, the woman decided for herself. After all, she should be happy. Bella had always dreamed of having a child, but her husband seemed indifferent to the idea. He preferred to have fun and live for his own pleasure. He would almost daily be out driving in his car, while Bella spent her days at work commuting by bus. She had graduated from the economics faculty and held a high position. She immersed herself in work, trying not to give much thought to her husband's frequent absences. She trusted him and tried to make sure there was only peace, tranquility, and prosperity in the family. However, Antonio didn't appreciate it. He was constantly away from home, without considering how hard it was for his wife to handle all the problems alone. There was no romance in their relationship, but Bella believed that things would change soon. After all, Antonio was looking for a job, so he was often held up somewhere. She dreamt of how they would spend their free time together, strolling through the park alleys, admiring the beautiful sunsets, enjoying the beauty of nature, and kissing under the moon, just like they did before they got married. And, of course, more than anything else, the woman dreamed of having a child. Time went on, but nothing changed in the couple's life. They lived like that, without heartfelt conversations. With each passing day, their relationship became more and more indifferent. They were growing apart. Only Bella tried not to notice it. She believed that everything would change soon. One warm summer day, Bella decided to arrange a romantic dinner, just because, without any specific reason. She called Antonio, warning him not to be late today. "You have a surprise waiting for you, darling. Come home early." "All right," her husband replied. "I'll try, but I can't promise. I have, as always, many important things to do." Bella got busy preparing for an important event that was supposed to improve their relationship. After going to the store for groceries, she decided to make a delicious cake. Antonio adored it, so this treat had to be on the table tonight, the eve of the celebration of love. She beautifully decorated the festive table, arranged candles, and set up champagne. She sat down at the table and waited, occasionally glancing at the clock. However, Antonio didn't come home at all that evening. Tired of waiting, the woman lay down on the bed, buried her face in the pillow, and burst into tears. Why, oh why, was everything in her life going so wrong? Suddenly, Bella started reminiscing about her past, where happy moments were not so plentiful. Our heroine grew up in a poor family. Her mother graduated from a pedagogical institute, but never worked in her field, dedicating her entire life to her beloved daughter. She chose to be a homemaker, to always be by Bella's side. Her father was a tyrant. He loved to drink alcohol and became very aggressive when drunk, insulting the whole family. But Bella's mother endured it all, trying to give her daughter as much love as possible. And it bore fruit. The woman grew up kind and compassionate. However, the difficult life with an alcoholic left its mark. Her mother died of a stroke. It felt like life came to an end. Bella took a long time to recover from what happened. She completely closed herself off. Her father started drinking again, and life became unbearable. A close friend tried to help Bella cope with her state in every possible way, but the woman didn't go anywhere, remaining closed within herself. Marriage seemed to her like salvation, a door to another life full of joy, but it didn't turn out that way. Bella woke up to the sound of rain, checked the time, 2:30 in the morning, and Antonio still wasn't home. She called her husband's phone again. The subscriber was still unavailable. She couldn't decide what to do when he returned. Should she create a scene or leave everything as it was? In the morning, Antonio returned as if nothing had happened, and he casually went to the kitchen, shouting to Bella, who was still in bed, "Darling, what do we have for breakfast? I'm hungry." "Everything that was prepared yesterday for the surprise is waiting for you in the kitchen," the woman replied. "You can never please you," Antonio rudely retorted. "I just found a suitable job, you see. It even requires me to be away at nights, so be patient if you want your husband to have a decent, well-paying job." Bella was bewildered, not expecting such a reaction from her husband to her question. She held back, not wanting to engage in a fight, and simply kissed her spouse, choosing to believe him again. "It's all right. Just a little more waiting, and everything will be fine," she thought. Bella was looking forward to the weekend. Despite the rain outside, she was in a wonderful mood in the morning. Taking an umbrella with her, she rushed to the bus stop. The bus was crowded, and it was not very comfortable. Somewhere nearby, she heard the loud voice of the driver. "Pay up or get off. All kinds of freeloaders ride here. They don't want to pay for the fare. Just take up space." Bella noticed a man who indeed looked like a homeless person. He tried to explain to the driver that he had no money, but he really needed to get to the city center. A real scandal broke out. Bella looked into the eyes of the man and thought, he really needs help. "I'll pay for him," Bella told the driver. "You're doing a pointless thing, woman. Such freeloaders need to be taught a lesson, not helped. No order," the driver rudely responded. "Nevertheless, I will pay. Give me the ticket and take the money." Bella handed over the necessary amount and felt proud of herself for helping someone in need. Since childhood, she had been accustomed to rescuing everyone around her, and her mother taught her that. The vagrant thanked her and tried to explain something, but Bella reassured him that he didn't need to worry. When she got off at her stop, the man she helped on the bus called out to her. He introduced himself. The vagrant's name was Emmanuel. The two new acquaintances chatted briefly at the bus stop. During their conversation, it seemed like these two had known each other for a long time. Bella noticed that Emmanuel was very articulate, and she enjoyed talking with him. It might seem like that was it, but this encounter was not a coincidence in Bella's fate. Coming home, once again not finding her husband there, Bella noticed his wallet on the floor near the mirror. Apparently, he had dropped it while rushing to another meeting. Some strange papers were sticking out of the wallet. Bella took a look inside and found receipts for fines for traffic violations. What surprised her was that all the violations were in the same place. What was he doing there so frequently? And why was he always in a hurry? I must get to the bottom of all this. On that day, Bella was nervous and anxiously awaited her husband's return home. When Antonio finally appeared, Bella, trying to contain her emotions as calmly as possible, asked, "Darling, did you forget anything at home today?" She attempted a smile, though it was difficult for her. "I don't think so," Antonio replied. "What happened? Perhaps it's time for a serious talk?" Bella felt that she would finally express everything she had been holding inside for so long. "Why are you hiding from me that you have a bunch of fines for traffic violations? We are a family, or do you think it doesn't concern me?" Antonio tried to say something, but Bella placed the contents of the wallet on the table before him. For the first time, she saw him so bewildered and embarrassed. After a moment, he explained that he simply didn't want to upset Bella. "What's the problem? I'll pay all the fines later. I just don't have the money now." Antonio didn't even attempt to justify himself. "Don't you trust me? How could you do this? You're constantly trying to accuse me of something, not realizing that I'm doing everything for us to live in prosperity," Antonio said. Why was he treating her like this? After all, she did everything for him, turning a blind eye to his lies and indifference, working from morning till night. Bella felt deeply hurt, but she restrained herself and didn't express everything she thought about her husband. She was tired of constant arguments in her own home, so now she tried to avoid them in her family. Therefore, she decided to trust and forgive Antonio once again. Believing her husband, Bella temporarily put aside what happened, but this was just the beginning of her disappointments. After a short time, one evening, when Bella returned home from work, she found Antonio looking gloomy. It turned out that he had serious problems at work. That's how he explained his despondency to his wife. He needed money for an internship, but as usual, he lied. "I've had enough. I can't listen to your lies and empty promises anymore. You're trying to come up with something to justify yourself again. Be a man. Tell me the truth." Bella tried to express her dissatisfaction to her spouse. While Bella was trying to express her feelings to her husband, he had already gone into the room and sat in front of the TV. "If you don't want to talk nicely, it'll be the hard way," she said, entering the room and turning off the TV, standing in front of her husband. She wanted to get to the bottom of everything and started asking him questions, but all she got in response were vague excuses. "Don't you trust me?" Antonio started a real argument, reducing Bella to tears. The next morning, she went to work again without getting enough sleep. She was going to meet Emmanuel again, and that meeting would truly astonish her. The vagrant caught a street thief, skillfully pinning his hands behind his back. Then he made a call, and soon a police car arrived. Bella approached Emmanuel and greeted him. He couldn't hide his joy at the encounter. "I saw everything," Bella said. "Confess, you're not a homeless man, are you?" "Yes, you guessed right. I used to work in the police," Emmanuel replied. By disguising himself as a homeless man, he was able to catch thieves without drawing attention to himself. Bella was in awe. What a man Emmanuel was. Composed and brave, agile and strong. He invited Bella to have coffee after work, and she agreed. She needed someone to talk about everything. After hearing her story, Emmanuel decided to help her figure out the situation. "You're very lucky," Emmanuel said. "I know the patrol officer who issued fines to your husband. We'll definitely get to the bottom of it." The next day, Bella met Emmanuel to talk to the patrol officers together and find out what really happened. Bella hoped that there were valid reasons for Antonio's rush. He couldn't be so irresponsible. After talking to the officer who issued fines to Antonio, she saw an honest and incorruptible person in front of her. His comprehensive explanations to her questions shocked her. It turned out that her husband constantly went to the same place and disregarded traffic rules, causing dangerous situations on the road. Emmanuel promised Bella that he would investigate everything. He escorted her home, telling her about himself on the way. It turned out that they were kindred spirits. He also had a rough life. His wife, whom he loved with all his heart, betrayed him, cheated, and only cared about money. They divorced soon after. Coming home, Bella, recalling her meeting with the police officer, caught herself again thinking how pleasant it was to talk to him. She felt protected and able to be herself, as if her soul had broken free from a cage. The next day, the patrol officer reported that Bella's husband had been to an elite cottage village. Bella's head spun. Her heart pounded madly. Could it be that Antonio was cheating on her? She didn't want to believe it and tried to find other reasons for his trips. Seeing doubts in his wife's eyes, the officer suggested looking at the surveillance camera footage to find out what really happened. Bella had hope. She wanted to believe that her husband wasn't lying and that he really was rushing for work. After watching the video, all her hopes evaporated. Affluent people lived in the upscale cottage, and Bella knew he didn't have such relatives. She firmly decided to find out the truth in the coming days. Emmanuel promised to help her with that. "As soon as your husband goes to the elite village again, I'll let you know immediately. I'm keeping an eye on him. Don't worry, we'll figure this out," said the police officer. She didn't have to wait long. That day, Bella decided to sleep in a little. Mentally, she was completely overwhelmed. She believed her husband, and he was just deceiving her, and most likely, he had a mistress. Her phone rang, waking her up. "Bella, wake up and get ready quickly. Today we'll observe your husband together. I'm waiting for you around the corner from your house," Emmanuel's voice sounded. Bella rushed out onto the street and turned the corner of the house. There, Emmanuel was waiting for her. Antonio came out of the entrance and got into his car in just a quarter of an hour. As soon as he drove off, Emmanuel and Bella followed him. "Your husband turned onto the road leading to the upscale mansions again," Emmanuel remarked. "Looks like today we'll find out everything." They arrived at the luxurious 3-story mansion where Bella's husband had just headed. Before following him, Bella and Emmanuel decided to wait for a while. Just don't be nervous. It doesn't matter what you see there or what you find out. The important thing is that now you'll get to the bottom of it. Anyway, I want to confess something to you right now. Bella, from the first moment, I fell in love with you. You're the dearest person to me. Don't be afraid. I'm here for you, Emmanuel said. Bella was in shock after hearing this. She looked into Emmanuel's eyes and suddenly realized she had tender feelings for this person too. Her feelings for her husband had long cooled, and now it was much easier for Bella to go where her husband was. She didn't say anything to Emmanuel. She just moved forward. Having a reliable companion by her side gave her even more confidence and strength. Bella resolutely pressed the doorbell. Her husband opened the door, wearing just a robe. Seeing him, Bella nearly fainted. Everything blurred before her eyes. She had suspected that he was cheating on her, but when she saw it for herself, she experienced a real shock. Antonio didn't expect to see his wife here. His pitiful appearance was revolting. He didn't even try to justify himself, and there was no point in doing so. "How I hate you!" Bella slapped Antonio in the face. "Enough! Calm down!" Emmanuel tried to stop her. Bella pushed Antonio away and ran into the mansion. She wanted to see the one who had destroyed their family happiness. When Emmanuel ran into the house after Bella, he received an unexpected surprise. "Darcy?" Emmanuel was astonished to see his ex-wife in the mansion. She was Antonio's lover. Suddenly, they heard a child crying. Emmanuel and Bella ran together towards the sound coming from upstairs. When they reached the attic, they realized that the baby's crying was coming from there. They opened the door and froze at what they saw. The baby was huddled in the far corner of the room, trembling with fear. Skinny and dressed in dirty clothes, the child looked so helpless. "Little one, don't be afraid. Come to me." Bella was in distress. The child ran to her and she hugged him close. "Auntie, they're mean to us and Grandma," the boy said. "Who are they, and what's your name, little one?" The adults bombarded him with questions, eager to find and punish the offenders. "I'm Marcos," the boy replied. "These people are bad. They lock me up here and don't let me out. When I'm hungry, they won't let me look in the fridge, and if I ask for food, they scold me and shoo me away. And Grandma cries too." "Do you live here with your grandma?" Bella asked, trying to conceal her excitement. "Yes, she's sick and can't walk," the boy whispered. "Let's go to her." The boy took a step forward but almost stumbled. He was very weak. Bella picked him up again, and together they went downstairs, with Emmanuel following them. In a room next to the kitchen sat a very thin elderly woman. She turned towards the newcomers, and Bella saw the pain and sorrow in her eyes. The boy rushed to her and buried his face in her knees. "Grandma, don't worry. The rescuers came to us. They will protect us and drive away these bad people," he said. The old woman embraced her crying grandson. She had heard some commotion in the hall, but she couldn't get up. Her greatest concern was for the little boy. Where was he, and what had happened to him? When she saw that the child was safe, she felt somewhat relieved. "Please, bring us some bread. Marcos and I are so hungry," the old woman asked. Bella ran to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and was shocked to see it filled with delicacies. She quickly made sandwiches and rushed back. Seeing the grandma and grandson devour the food eagerly, Bella burst into tears. Her heart was torn between compassion for them and hatred for their tormentors. After waiting for the grandmother to eat a little, Bella asked, "Aren't you fed here?" Bella was outraged. Who could treat these people this way? She was shaking with horror, unable to contain herself. Only heartless individuals could act like this. "I'm the owner of this mansion, Emma," the woman introduced herself. "Life hasn't spared me, despite the wealth I have. Money can't buy everything. Misfortune struck suddenly and took away those who were so dear to me. It was a tragedy. My beloved daughter and son-in-law left Marcos with me for a week and went on a trip. They didn't get to relax. There was an accident, and it claimed both my daughter and son-in-law's lives. Marcos was so young, he didn't understand that he became an orphan. but I fully felt the pain of loss. My legs were paralyzed. Now I'm confined to this wheelchair, and I feel that my time is near. I'm not afraid. On the contrary, I want to reunite with my little girl soon. My only concern is Marcos. Who will take care of him? Darcy hired a caretaker for herself and a nanny for Marcos. I trusted this woman, and she had full access to my money. She deceived me and now behaves like the owner of this house, but I can't do anything. I can't even make a phone call as she took away my phone. Emmanuel turned around and gave a stern look to the lovers. After a brief conversation, he called the police. Bella approached the grandmother and her grandson, hugged them, and said, "Don't be afraid. You're safe now. Everything will be fine." "I can see that you are good people," Emma said, smiling. "And it seems like you love each other. Is that right?" she asked her guests. Bella and Emmanuel exchanged glances and smiled. "Yes, you are a wise woman. Nothing can be hidden from you. We will help you." "Thank you. Our saviors," Emma replied. The police car arrived, and the criminals were loaded and taken to the station. Shortly after, doctors arrived to examine the grandmother and her grandson. Bella filed for divorce and moved into Emma's house because the elderly woman needed constant assistance. She took care of the old lady and looked after Marcos. Emmanuel came to visit them almost every day. Soon, the young couple got married. Emma suggested they all live together. They obtained legal guardianship over Marcos. Emmanuel and Bella became loving parents to him, and the boy immediately started calling them Mom and Dad. Happiness finally settled in the vast mansion. 9 months later, a little sister, Jessica, was born to Marcos. Bella named her daughter after her own mother. Emmanuel, like Bella, always wanted children and was overjoyed when the baby girl was born. "And this is just the beginning," Emmanuel said with a smile. "I think 3 or even 5 little ones in our home would be just perfect." In response, Bella gently kissed her husband and said, "I searched for you for so long. You're the best man in the whole world. I love you, Emmanuel." Love is a strange feeling. It can make a person happy or shatter their life in an instant, turning a lover into someone deeply unhappy, killing faith, and closing the soul tightly. How often do we dissolve ourselves in those who are not worthy of us? But fate gives us a second chance to be happy. Our heroes did not miss this opportunity. 2 close hearts now beat in unison. In such a family, peace and tranquility reign, along with love and mutual understanding. Now, everything will definitely be fine for them.